Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to episode 199 of the Falcoholic Live. I am your host, Kevin Knight at Falcoholic Kevin, coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. That's right, I am on site here in Atlanta for Falcons training camp. I'll be joined shortly this weekend, officially by Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way, but for now, you'll have to do with my takes, and we're gonna switch it up tonight. Adnan's gonna ask me questions, so you guys are gonna get a flipped situation here, and we're gonna tackle all of the stuff that happened today at training camp because there was quite a bit of interesting news. It was actually a very entertaining practice. Everything except for the heat was great, so we've got a lot to cover. But before we do, Adnan, welcome, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. See, first show outside of the dead period, and we're already throwing a curveball. And I see that.
Yeah, they're here. They're all here. They're all here.
Yeah. Hey, they left us
I
alone
was
since
ready, but it takes like a couple seconds to click it. So it's I
they
got the
left
guy
us
that
alone.
I
Yeah,
know the guy. There's a guy that's offered to be a mod for like 2 months, and I just need whoever you. I remember you. I just need to set it up. So I apologize, but that would have come in handy there. He would have been
I
quicker
mean
on the
they're
draw.
back. They,
They're
they
back.
came right back. To be honest.
I bet. I wonder
Um,
how many of our users are just these like naked HD. People like.
yeah, they spammed us during the draft, and now they're spam. They know when to spam us. They know when it's time when news is here.
We're big enough now that they actually care enough to come. So,
Yeah,
thank you, bots. Yeah.
I wasn't seeing them during the dead period very much
No,
at all.
no. We had a reprieve. I thought maybe I had gotten all of their accounts banned, but apparently not. So, they just keep coming. It's just like the spam robocallers. They keep they just keep making new ones. It's unlimited. I can't believe YouTube hasn't figured it out. I feel like it's the same exact name every time, but it's YouTube. What do you expect?
Yeah, I hope none of our viewers clicked.
Yep.
Oh, they're back again.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to, do this a bunch of times anyway.
yeah, yeah.
It's okay.
Already on alert. But yeah, no, I'm definitely very excited. The first day of training camps all around the NFL have opened up this week. And I mean, it's time. Like this is the time. We're still a bit away from the regular season, but this is where the busy period begins, and this is the unofficial start to the season when training camp opens up. I'm definitely excited to be there on Saturday. I'll be there on Monday as well. Um, I'll be there next Saturday too. I know Kevin will be there at training camp. You'll be there all throughout the entire thing, and then we'll have our preseason coverage in the three preseason games. So yeah, it's definitely we've made it through the dead period, and here we are on the other side. We're still standing as we always are at this time of year.
Yes, we've made it, you guys. There's actual, real football to talk about. It's awesome. So I'm excited to bring it to you. I'm excited to have Adnan join me in a couple of days. And we're gonna break down all of this football goodness. Before we do, one thing I want to mention real quick is Zen M17. I believe is, and I gotta do this, banning here. I gotta make I'm gonna get Adnan on this too. I'm
My,
gonna
my thing is like they're not. What are they even doing? They're
I
not
don't even
even giving
know.
any
It's just like,
links.
yeah, there's no link. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know if you're
it's
supposed
just
to like,
emojis at this point.
yeah, it's
Like,
just emojis. I feel like you could get that anywhere. They gotta ramp up their stuff. But I got to shout out Zen M13, who I believe is Australian. So I think a lot of times they watch it like not live, but Zen M dropped a $72 tip
oh my God.
for the training camp fund. So Zen, thank you so much, man. We really, really appreciate that. He says appreciate all the work you guys do. Go Falcons. So Zen, man, we just really appreciate that. Anyone else that's looking to help support us, we're well on our way to our goal here. It'll continue running through training camp while I'm here, and the link to that is in the show description. It's streamlabs.com/falcoholic. Any amount helps. Anything you guys want to do, we appreciate all the support. Obviously, it's completely optional. This channel is always going to be 100% free. I'm trying to keep ads off of it. Let me know if you guys see ads. I have not enabled ads on the channel, but I think YouTube's just like putting ads on everything now. So if you do see ads when you watch these videos, let me know, and I'll send them a nasty gram. But we just we're partially supported by you guys, and we just really appreciate that. So thank you for taking the time. And if you don't want to donate monetarily, you can donate by liking and subscribing, which we also very much appreciate. So yes, sorry, Adnan, go ahead.
I was just gonna say a shout out to Zen and all of our international fans, and people who, obviously right now, let's say in the United Kingdom, it's 1 a.m. So people can't really watch at 1 a.m. But shout out to all of the people who are watching this the next day, who can't watch us live, but still, catch up on us, catch up on their Falcons shows. I just think that's one of the coolest things. Um, so yeah, big shout out to all of our international fans and all of our domestic fans here in the United States who, even though they can't be with us live, they still they still make the time and take the time to watch us the next day or whenever.
Yeah, absolutely. Really appreciate that, guys. Whenever you want to watch the show, or if you're a
Yeah,
podcast listener,
shout out
yeah.
to Dwight. Dwight just dropped it in the United Kingdom.
Oh, there you go. See,
It's a
yeah,
1:14 a.m. over there. So,
yes,
shout out. Thanks for giving us some of your time in the middle of the night, Dwight.
yeah. Thank you, Dwight. I see Dwight here all the time. So this isn't even just a
Yeah,
training camp
absolutely.
thing. This is a dedication. Oh, it's a joke.
Oh,
Okay.
he's a
Oh,
God
get him out
damn
of
it,
here.
Dwight.
Get it.
God damn it.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Unsportsmanlike conduct. No, it's
I
all good.
respect
It's all
it. All
good.
right, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good hustle, though. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
that was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, guys, we're gonna break down all kinds of stuff for you tonight. All kinds of stuff to get to, but I will open the floor to Adnan first for what he wants to hear about. If you guys have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I will try to get to some. And obviously, if you have a burning question that you can't live without, we will answer any donation questions. Obviously, that is our policy here, as long as it's not too crude, or if you put, we reserve the right to refuse any like thing crude in there. So if you want to try to troll, like, I'm not gonna read it, so you're just wasting your money at that point. But so far you guys are usually very well behaved, so I don't think we have to worry about that. It's honestly a testament that we haven't had to get a mod to this point, because the community's so well behaved, even for the Discord, which has like 300 something people on it. So shout out to you guys for behaving on the internet, which is a rare thing. This is a very rare thing these days. But
Yeah,
yes,
and I mean, we don't really get too many issues with opposing fans either. Like, yeah, sometimes we'll have some trolls, but for the most part, even opposing fans have some good discourse with our community whenever we are talking about other teams and they find
yeah,
our channel.
yeah. No, I think most of the time it is very complimentary, and if there is the shit talking, I think it's usually good fun,
Yeah,
and it's reciprocal. It's not just like trolly or terrible. So I mean, that's all good. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna ban anyone for a little good natured ribbing, but just
I mean,
don't
I encourage,
spam.
I encourage it,
Don't
to be
spam.
honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm looking at you, Naked HD XYZ. So we're giving them so much press. They're just gonna keep coming back, every time they come on. But all right, Adnan.
yeah,
I'm an open book, so go ahead
yeah.
with the questions.
For those that are just joining us, Kevin was at training camp today, with the media members, so he's officially big time at this point. Um,
Big time.
yeah, no, definitely one of my first things that I'm very curious about is the performance of Richie Grant. We know the story with him. A couple of years ago, he was a second round pick, a high second round pick at that. It wasn't one of those like very low, almost third rounders. The Falcons passed on the likes of Creed Humphrey for him, and he didn't really get much playing time last year. Had some issues learning Dean Pease's playbook, which is not a good thing, no matter if a player's a rookie or not. Yeah, my first thing that I'm curious about is, was he out there? I see he was running with the ones a little bit, but how is he looking? Because he's going to be a very big part of what the Falcons want to do on defense moving forward.
Yeah, I mean it. The one thing I'll say about Richie Grant, because I honestly I didn't see any like super impactful plays necessarily from Grant today, and that I just don't think the ball like came to him on defense. He was out there along with Jalen Hawkins. They were the two starters, so that's the big news to open camp, is that those two were the starters with the first team pretty much all day. Now the first and second teams kind of work together in like one sort of pod on one field, and then the third and fourth strings work on the other side of the field in like a different pod. So like there was some mixing and matching, but whenever it was the first stringers, clearly, it was Richie Grant and Jalen Hawkins getting that work. So I know for sure that Grant is certainly in the mix. I think he almost never got any first team reps last training camp, like at all, other than just occasionally mixing in. So I think it's a really good sign for him. I didn't see that he didn't appear to be out of position or make any notable mistakes. I think just it was sort of like Jalen Hawkins had a ton of plays today because the ball always sort of came to where he was. It just didn't go to Richie Grant's side, and I think Grant seemed to be playing a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, which is kind of I think what we expected anyway. And Hawkins was a little bit further, and with this sort of low minimum contact practice and not a lot of running the football, obviously, I think it's a little bit harder to see someone like Grant's skill set, when he's going to be playing closer to the box. It was easier to see Jalen Hawkins, who I thought had a good day. I know I posted like a clip of him like having a bad drill, but I think that was just he lined up in the wrong place on the drill. But I would say that Hawkins had, shifting it to Hawkins because that's who I honestly got a better chance to evaluate. Hawkins looked good. Obviously, there wasn't full tackling, which was really the thing he struggled with last year, but he was in position to lay out Anthony Firkser on a play, and you saw him pull up. But I mean, in a real live game, he would have leveled whoever that player over the middle was, and broken up the pass. As it stands in the training camps scenario, it was a completion for Firkser that would have been stopped there, according to they can sort of blow the whistle or whatever when you make contact. But he had a great play there. He shut down several like screens and short passes that he sort of closed down on really fast. He had some good, run support, quote unquote, plays where he like went down and filled the proper gap. And so he just seemed to be more involved today. I suspect that'll sort of ebb and flow. But the big news being that yes, Richie Grant and Jalen Hawkins are the starting safeties to open camp. But Arthur Smith did say that they're having open competitions at most spots. So there could be more rotating. It doesn't necessarily mean that people are underperforming or whatever, but that there may be some rotating, so that's something to keep an eye on. But I can't spin it in any sort of bad way that they were both starting at the first practice. I think you can only take that as a positive sign or something.
Yeah, I think the frustrating thing right now for us is because we want all the answers. We want to know exactly how everything's going to play out, who's going to be starting, how everyone is going to look. But it was only day one of training camp. There's still so much of it left, but it's just I think it's just one of those natural reactions where we just had this dead period of nothing for months and months, and now we just want everything at once. And unfortunately, we kind of have to be patient, which sucks. But that's just how it is. And one of the big things that I really want to know about is the offensive line. First, did they actually have the offensive line close to the hill where the fans could actually see? Or I know there were no fans, but close to the media tent at the very least, where you guys could actually see the performance of the offensive line? Or was it like last year where it was just they were just being hidden all the way in the distance?
The drills were once again on the far side of the field.
Oh, that's not a good sign.
But there was a fair amount of 11 on 11 that we got to watch. And again, it's like limited contact, so you can't really necessarily, it's not the best time, I guess, to evaluate the offensive and defensive lines. I did think that the defensive line probably was the better of the two units today. Take that however you will. Again, there wasn't any live real contact, but I saw penetration frequently. Caleb McGarry ended up on the ground on one of the last reps of the day. I didn't see who the edge was that did it. I think it was Ebikadi, but I didn't really get a good look at the number. But I thought the defensive line was slightly better. I don't think it was they never had any trouble like getting plays off. I mean, again, if this was full speed live game action, maybe some of these would be sacks that were completions. But I thought, like, for the most part, it was probably better than expected for the offensive line, and better than expected for the defensive line. Because I think we were sort of expecting the defensive line to dominate because of how bad the offensive line was. But it ended up being more like the defensive line was better, but not like drastically so. So
I don't know. Like, just because the defensive line hasn't been together that much, like, you have all of these rookies and all these new players, I would sort of expect the offensive line to kind of have the advantage right from the get-go because these guys all played together all of last season. And I saw in your tweet that Drew Dahlman was a starting center over Matt Hennessy, but the other four guys, they at the very least have reps together, and even Dahlman has a few reps with them. So I don't know. I would hope that the offensive line is a little better than the defensive line from the start. I know in training camps, defenses as a whole normally have an upper hand at the very beginning until the offense gets in their rhythm and starts implementing, some of their stuff. But definitely, I wasn't a fan of some of what I was seeing from your tweets, like for example, Caleb McGarry getting dropped on his back.
that was the only play I saw where he got like visibly beat. So take it with whatever you want. But I knew I couldn't resist. I knew people really wanted to dunk on McGarry. So I'm sorry, McGarry. You're just the one that got dunked on today. Because you just happened to be the one that I really saw. But like they really do their best to obscure the 11 on 11 from us. And we're no longer allowed to record any 11 on 11. We can record 7 on 7 still. And the drills, but they were cracking down on not wanting us to record 11 on 11. I feel like that might be my fault from last year, but so they didn't want those plays out there, I guess. But yeah, I thought it was interesting to see Dahlman out there. We did hear in Arthur Smith's press conference that it's basically an open battle at center, at left guard, and at right tackle. There's no competition at all at left tackle and right guard. Like he's very clear about that, and there shouldn't be. But he said don't read too much into the starting offensive line today. There's going to be a fair competition. They're going to rotate all the guys that are in contention. He didn't, spell out exactly who it was, but based on what I saw, there were two sort of core groups that were pretty clearly like separated from the other offensive linemen. The first, second team is sort of like a pod that works together. So there were two offensive lines, and the first team offensive line was Jake Matthews at left tackle, Jalen Mayfield at left guard, Drew Dahlman at center, Chris Lindstrom at right guard, and Caleb McGarry at right tackle, which is pretty much the same as last year except for Dahlman being in there. And I do think that is a good sign for Dahlman and where he stands in the battle. And then the second team was Rick Leonard at left tackle, who I guess maybe I shouldn't be surprised that it's him. I guess I thought that Elijah Wilkinson, who's playing at left guard actually with the second team, was going to be more of a factor at tackle, but apparently they want Wilkinson to compete at guard. Rick Leonard then becomes maybe even the favorite for swing tackle, depending on if you think the loser of the right tackle battle gets cut. I mean, we'll see. And then we also saw, who else was it? Obviously Hennessy was the center with the second team. Colby Gossett at right guard, and then Jermaine Ifedi at right tackle. So I think we're probably going to see a fair amount of switching between those two groups, but whoever's with the like nominal first team probably has the advantage, I would say, but we'll see how that goes.
And I'm on record as saying that I think that as of right now, I think Ifedi's going to win that competition.
Yes, you were the first. I jumped on the bandwagon immediately after you, but you were first. I want to give you your credit on that. So
yeah, I mean, just after diving deep into the numbers of my right tackle training camp article, which you can find on the website, it's just Jermaine Ifedi is pretty much a league average player. But not Hennessy, but Caleb McGarry has never really approached league average. He's been well below league average last year in pass blocking, especially. I definitely think that right now, if Eddie's going to win that out, I'm giving him the edge. As far as center is concerned, I'm still giving the edge to Hennessy just because of the experience. And I mean, I don't know who exactly is challenging Mayfield at left guard unless they bring someone in. just
Yeah.
because there's just no depth to that position right now. I
Yeah,
don't. Yeah, go
it
ahead.
seems to be Elijah Wilkinson. I didn't really get a good look at him, but Wilkinson is it's intriguing to me a little bit that he's factoring in at guard because he's basically been a solid starter when he plays. So I like that that he's factoring in there. At least he'll have, I think, a chance to do something there. But I just don't know if he's not exactly what we were hoping for in terms of the big competition for the left guard. But I think that he does have a shot there. He has been a solid starter and a reserve, and I think it's probably a good sign for his roster security that he's working a lot at guard because he can play tackle too. He's played both, and that flexibility can help get you a roster spot for sure. Um, so I don't know if Wilkinson will seriously challenge for that spot or not, but I think that I have more faith in him than like Colby Gossett and those sorts of players. So that take that with what you will. But I agree with you that I think Jermaine Ifedi is going to win right tackle. So at least if Dahlman and Ifedi were to win their respective battles, we would have two new starters. But a lot of it comes down to what the Falcons sort of want the identity of this offensive line to be. Like, if they're going to go all out in this sort of really run heavy RPO play action stuff, and they're going to really run the ball, and even when they pass the ball, they're going to act like they're running the ball, then they might prioritize guys like McGarry, who, despite his very poor pass blocking, was a excellent run blocker according to PFF. And the same thing goes for like Drew Dahlman and Matt Hennessy, kind of were kind of bad pass protectors and good run blockers. So if they're really emphasizing the run blocking, that could throw a wrench into those things, I guess, particularly in the favor of McGarry. Whereas Ifedi, despite his excellent size, has always sort of been a much better pass blocker. He's pretty much always been an average or better pass blocker. Last year, I think he was like actually in the 70s in terms of his pass blocking grade. So he's actually an above average to good pass blocker, but his run blocking is below average. So that's what brings his PFF score into the 60s. It's usually the other way around with offense. So it's like, to me, I would prefer the pass protection because I think you can make it work with the run blocking. But if they're really serious about being this really run heavy team, then they might choose differently.
I think no matter, even if you're the run heaviest of teams, you're still passing more than you are running in today's NFL. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I can actually look it up. The run to pass ratio from last season, but I mean, in today's NFL, today's a passing league. I value pass protection way more. Last year, the Falcons, who were, I'm pretty sure that Arthur Smith did want to run the ball a bit more last year, and a lot of the offensive linemen were better at run blocking than at pass protection. Certainly McGarry was, certainly Hennessy was much better run blocker than pass protector. Yet the Falcons still had twice as many passes as they did runs, nearly, and that's because part of it is because the defense played so poorly. And I don't think that this defense is really good enough to allow the offense to run the ball a lot more. So that's why they can talk about how they want to be a run heavy team or more run heavy. Talking about it and having it actually play out are two very different things. And I mean, last season, pass percentage, the Philadelphia Eagles were the most run heavy team in the league, and they still had more passes than they had runs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's with the designed runs and undesigned runs for Jalen Hurts, who's their quarterback. The Titans, who are second, have had Derrick Henry. They rode him for the most part. He did get injured, in fairness, but they had more passes than they did runs. It's just the nature of today's NFL. If you go back 20, 30 years, and obviously that's different, but pass protection is much, much more valuable than run blocking.
Yeah. It is. It just is. That's just how it works. You have to be able to pass block, and then if you're a great run blocker too, then you're like Quentin Nelson. And if you're just a good pass blocker and you're not a great run blocker, then you could still be a really good high paid offensive lineman. But that's the one thing I think that could throw a wrench into it. But I know people were asking about Justin Schaefer. I didn't look too much at the third and fourth string group. I probably will at some point, just to see who's over there and how those guys are looking. But he was with them. I didn't see him with the starters. And Ryan Newsell's over there too, and that's another guy. Like, we're looking obviously for the flip flopping and the changes with the first, second string group. But if any of those third, fourth guys make the jump to that first, second pod, I think that would be something to monitor, because that could be a really good sign for their roster potential, certainly their practice squad potential. Before we get to the next question, Adnan, let me read off some of these donations just so we can make sure that we don't fall behind there. Mad Tom K with the $3. Thank you so much, Tom. Really appreciate that. He says, guys, thanks for the coverage. All the coverage that you bring. Any of the rookies have standout plays at camp? Yeah, I mean, the obvious choice would be Drake London, right? He did have he had a screen, I believe it was, where he sort of ripped the ball away from Darren Hall and ran for some extra yardage. That was nice. I believe it was Ebikadi who was the one that knocked over Caleb McGarry, but I didn't see it. I want to say that it was either him or D'Angelo Malone, I'm pretty sure. But that's another thing to mention also, D'Angelo Malone. The dude looks jacked. I remember him at the Senior Bowl being kind of slim. He doesn't look slim. He does not look out of place at all. You put him next to Ogundeji and Lorenzo Carter, he looks like he belongs with those guys. He does not look small at all. He's listed at 240. I would not be surprised if he's 250. So that's another positive sign there. In terms of the other rookies, I mean, Tyler Algier certainly had a good run. I'm sure we'll get to that more later. But I mean, I think most of the rookies that are playing with the starting side of things, even Desmond Ridder, and we'll talk about him when we talk about the quarterbacks, which I'm sure is a big topic we'll cover. But I think most of the guys that are out there all had at least one good play. So that's on that one. And then I know Corey with the $5. Thank you so much, Corey. I know he's in pain because of the Julio Jones deal. He demanded a new contract, then a trade, and now he's signed with the enemy and said we don't even matter enough to get up for. I know, he just wants to hurt us, Corey. You can't let him hurt us, okay? You can't let him hurt you. I choose to remember Julio as he was before he became evil. And he'll become good again. But right now he's just tempted by the dark side.
He'll go into the Hall of Fame as a Falcon. He spent 10 years with the Falcons. It wouldn't surprise me if he signed a one-day contract with the Atlanta Falcons to finish out his career, as a lot of legends do with their own teams. I don't know. I don't know how effective he'll be with Tampa. When he's healthy, obviously, I think he still has something left in the tank to help them out. But I mean, those hamstrings have lingered for the past 3 seasons. You didn't really see any severe effects until the 2020 season, his last season in Atlanta. But he was severely hampered. I remember after that Week 2 game against the Cowboys, he went back in. I think he got hurt on that when he dropped that pass from Russell Gage, if you remember it. And that infamous, Dallas game where they didn't recover the onside kick. And then last year was just the worst season of his career statistically. In 10 games, he had less than 500 receiving yards. Which is unheard of for Julio. He had 1 receiving touchdown, which that's not unheard of for Julio, but
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
I apologize.
Look, he's the enemy now. We can get in a few digs. Okay, we can get in
I apologize.
It's fair game. Yeah.
But yeah, those hamstrings are just gonna linger. Maybe they set something up for him to be on a pitch count, to be a third down specialist. When Chris Godwin gets healthy, he's absolutely gonna be. Julio's going to be the number 3, wide receiver. Maybe even Russell Gage, could take some snaps away from him. But he's over there. He's chasing his ring, as he has the right to do so. It kind of hurts that he went to a division rival. One thing I don't get, and the boat that I'm not in at all, are Julio fans who are rooting for him to win a championship with the Buccaneers, you can completely miss me with that shit.
If he'd
I
gone to
yeah,
anyone else but a division rival, we'd be cheering for him, just like Matt Ryan. But no, if
yeah.
you go to a division rival, I can't do it. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
can't do it.
like Matt Ryan's different. Like Matt Ryan's all the way over there in the AFC.
Yeah,
We're not even going to see Matt Ryan. We're definitely not seeing Matt Ryan in the playoffs. I'm sorry. Falcons aren't making. I don't think the Falcons are making the Super Bowl, barring some miraculous events. Um, but yeah, Julio went to a division rival. I'm absolutely not rooting for our division rivals to win the Super Bowl so that Julio can get his ring. Like this reminds me of how some Falcons fans were rooting for the Panthers to win it all in 2015 because Cam Newton's from Atlanta. It just feels goofy.
yeah, just the mental gymnastics, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah, we're
but
not.
best of luck to Julio.
Yeah,
I don't know how effective he'll be moving forward, but he's definitely still a Falcons great, and he'll be in the Hall of Fame as a Falcon. It just hurts right now.
yeah, he's a Falcons great, and he will be again. Right now he's the enemy, but it's temporary. The memories are forever, and he'll come back. He'll come back into our good graces here
Yeah,
soon.
I will
Um,
also say though, I'm sorry, I'm on a
no, it's
tangent
okay.
about Julio.
It's okay.
Yeah, I was just reminded of it, from a few years ago. I still don't get how he felt disrespected about that 3-year, $66 million contract that he received. Like, first of all, the Falcons made a complete mistake by giving him that contract.
Oh yeah.
I wrote about it in 2018. Like, I still reference that article when he started holding out for a new contract with 3 years left. I wrote about it. I don't like the precedent of ever giving tearing up a contract and giving a new contract to a player who has more than a year left on his deal. I just think it's a bad precedent to set, and I think the CBA gives teams that leverage over a player. Like you can root for the player, but I'd still want my team to take advantage of that leverage, even though every other team does. I think Arthur Blank made a big mistake by publicly announcing that he'll be a Falcon for life, which just killed negotiations. No owner should ever put his general manager in that kind of position when he's negotiating. And that contract was just an albatross for the Falcons. The Falcons are still paying for that contract. Julio's $15 million cap hit is the third highest on the team this year, his dead cap hit. And I
Yeah.
mean, first is Matt Ryan's $40 million dead cap hit, but that's another story entirely. But yeah, I just don't get it. Like they said that he felt disrespected at that contract. What's the only
Yeah.
thing disrespectful was what it did to Atlanta's cap space.
Yeah, I mean, it was disrespectful to the Falcons, if anything. So financially speaking, yeah, I mean, just go chase your ring, Julio. It's okay. You don't have to
Yeah.
you don't have to do a whole heel turn with it, but whatever. Um,
Yeah, $55 million going to Matt and Julio this year in dead cap. That's
so
yeah, that's just Thomas Dimitrov's complete mismanagement of it, and
yep, that's what
you
we're
know,
dealing with this year. When you see those 2-15 projections, you can thank Thomas Dimitrov for that. So,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
there's a reason why he hasn't found another job yet. There's a reason why he's podcasting right now and not in an NFL front office.
yep, and there may be reasons beyond that, but it's. I do hope that Dimitrov is able to get another job and able to get back up on the horse and learn from his mistakes. Uh, Genuinely. So TD was good at a few things and bad at a bunch of other things, and he never really got better at the bad things, and that was what did him in. So if he can be humble, and learn from those mistakes, hire guys like Scott Pioli while he was here that sort of complemented his weaknesses. Maybe there could be something there, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
All
We'll
right.
see.
Enough of the Julio coverage.
Enough of the
That's
Julio
it for the
coverage.
Julio
Yeah,
coverage.
yeah. Okay, and then Jason Gaines, real quick, with the $2. Thank you so much, Jason. By the way, he says, "I just want everyone to know that I'm on Efedi Island instead of Caleb McGarry Island. So
Yeah.
you got to
Same.
pick
Same.
which island you're on, guys.
I'm
So
also with you on Efedi Island right now,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and not because Efedi's some Pro Bowl right tackle. It's just, it's just that the bar for him to clear isn't really that high. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
I'm
I
gonna.
think Aaron Freeman's the only one left on McGarry Island at this point. It's
Yeah,
him and a volleyball right now.
Yeah, I think he said it's like a 2-star resort there on McGarry Island, and they're starting to run out of food. It's gonna be Firefest over there soon, so they gotta be real careful. Yeah,
He'll get the cheese sandwich, the couple
just
pieces of bread.
yeah, with the tomato and like the piece of lettuce. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna run a poll real quick, guys. I'm gonna see if this works. It's good thing to test this out. Which island are you on? Yeah, okay, guys, here we go. There we go. Perfect. Okay. um, yeah, let's keep it going. Adnan, what is your
Yeah,
next question?
we're
Yes.
talking about I like how the poll is staying up there. Um, and I like that you moved it up above the chat, not to where it's blocking
Yep.
the entire chat. But yeah, we're talking about the running backs. So would did Tyler Algier make any standout plays today? Would we know that we do have that running back competition? We're pretty sure that we know what the depth chart, the top four on the depth chart, what it's going to be at running back. We don't know how carries are going to be distributed. Maybe this will finally be the year when they go to a committee like I've been yelling about for the past 2 years. But how was Tyler Algier looking? I'm confident in Patterson and Williams as veterans, but I want to know what the young guys are doing.
Yeah, Patterson was absolutely mixing in with the first and the second team. He was in that sort of group over there. I only noticed one particularly big run from him, but it was a good run. It was right up the gut. It was physical. They did blow it dead right after he got past the line of scrimmage. I think he would have broken whatever tackle attempt was there. They sort of like if you lay a hand on him, it counts as the tackle in this scenario because there's no contact. But I think if it had been full contact, I think he actually would have busted right through that, and gotten a big gain up the middle. He just looks comfortable. He looks like he knows what he's doing. But again, it's really hard to evaluate the run game with no contact, so that's part of it. But Damian Williams was, I will say, excellent catching the ball, and he looked good as a runner as well. So, he's a guy that's gonna back up. He's gonna be probably the primary backup, just like period. He's gonna be the guy that rotates in and out, that does all that kind of stuff. So,
He'll be the guy that you curse in your fantasy football leagues
yep,
this
he'll
year,
be the
basically.
vulture. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that the running back room looks encouraging. Patterson was out there a little bit. He didn't get like a ton of reps, which they don't need to give him that many. Interestingly, Quadri Olison seemed to be with that first and second team group, whereas Huntley and Avery Williams were with that third, fourth string group. It's not necessarily saying much because if Williams sort of wins the special teams job, he's probably going to get the roster spot. But I do think they're going to keep Olison around whether he's on the roster or the practice squad. I think he's sort of their primary next guy up to actually run the ball, whereas Avery Williams probably going to be more of a special teams only role this year. But we'll see how he develops that running
Yeah,
game.
and I think Allison, for what it's worth, is getting those first team reps just as the incumbent. He was on the roster last year. So I think that's maybe a little bit out of respect to give some of those guys from last year that run with the first team. But yeah, moving on with it. I saw that Drew Dahlman is getting those first team reps. I'm assuming that Matt Hennessy, did he not get any first team reps? Or I know that they're going to rotate them out. I just want to know, is it going to be one of those things where it's Dahlman runs with the first teamers today, tomorrow it's going to be Hennessy, or is it half of practice Dahlman, half of practice Hennessy?
That's how it was last year, the way you're describing, that they would just rotate people into the lines. I think now they're doing like groupings. So they'll have like the first team grouping and the second team grouping, and they sort of keep those for the practice. But I think what's going to happen is they will rotate guys in and out of those groupings until they sort of set their line. So I think like it's very possible that Matt Hennessy will be with the first team grouping tomorrow. We'll see if any of the other positions switch. Because to me, I think it's obvious that that's probably the most hotly contested battle that's like wide open. Basically, I don't think we really know how wide open right tackle is. I mean, I think we're very suspicious that it's extremely wide open, like as much as center, basically.
It's a lot more
Um,
open than it was last year.
Well,
And yeah,
but again, if Matt Gono hadn't missed all of training camp and the season, it may very well have been similar to this year because they gave him
I
that massive deal. They gave him that second round tender. That was the most
yeah,
expensive contract they had handed out all year. So I don't know what would have happened if Matt Gono had been there. Maybe he was who they wanted to actually play at guard. Maybe that was what it was. But
yeah, I think Gono. I think they really liked Gono's versatility and they wanted to keep him around. I'm just finding it hard to believe that he would have given McGarry a legitimate challenge for that right tackle role, just because McGarry does have that first round pedigree, um, and I think this is the first time where he has any serious pressure on him going into a training camp and going into a season where he's actually fighting for his starting job. So hopefully he'll react positively to it, and hopefully we'll see him better than ever. But if not, then you have Jermaine Ifedi right there, who has started everywhere in his career, and after his rookie season, it's been a very solid tackle, minus the penalties. But the
he's cleaned
penalties,
those up.
yeah,
Yeah.
he cleaned those up in Chicago. He had nine in two combined seasons, well, a season and a half.
Yeah.
This man led the league in penalties
Oh my
in his
God, he had
second
like
year.
23 in 1 year or something.
Yeah, I think it was 19. He had
Yeah, yeah.
19 in one season, which led the league. Then in another season in Seattle, he had 17, which was top three in the league. He had nine combined the last 2 years. I'll
Yeah.
live with that. I'll
Honestly,
take
the
that.
last 3 years have been well within like normal limits for a starting offensive lineman. For the record, Jake Matthews has had 10 penalties over the past 2 seasons. I think he's played like 6 more games than Ifedi. But again, it's not that outlandish in terms of like it's well within normal limits. Jake Matthews is very disciplined offensive lineman.
Except for the Super Bowl.
Except for that, yeah, we don't talk about that on. We're moving
Yeah.
on. This is a new regime. We don't talk. We just forget that ever happened. Yeah,
It is wild though.
yeah.
The other day I was watching the secret base Falcons The secret base folks here at SB Nation did do an absolutely amazing job, with those team documentaries, the Seattle one and the Falcons one. I encourage you to check it out if you haven't already. John Boyce did a wonderful job. And I'd never seen the last one for the Falcons, the part 7. And for some reason last week, I just something possessed me to watch that to relive that Super Bowl pretty much by watching that last part of the documentary. It was just as bad as I thought it would be. Um, but yeah, what's strange is I came away with two things. One is that I never realized just how much Matthews cost the Falcons with 2 holding penalties. And the other thing is it really reminded me that regime is pretty much over at this point. Like the only holdovers from the Super Bowl left are Matthews, Deion Jones, and I think Grady Jarrett at this point, with Josh Harris leaving and Matt Ryan leaving over the offseason.
Yeah.
I think it's just those 3 guys. Deion Jones is on borrowed time, I think, with the Falcons. And Matthews and Grady will be here for a while longer, and Arthur Blank, obviously. But yeah, even the front office is completely switched out. Everyone on that football side of operations has been replaced since that Super Bowl. So that's been that was interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me just how in a few years an entire franchise can get completely flipped. And I mean, if it would happen to anyone, it should have happened to the Falcons. This team was broken after that game.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
really just had to. Like there was no other sort of way it could
yeah.
go.
But I digress. We're moving on to a new era, the
Yes.
Desmond Ridder era. Hopefully,
Yes.
how did Desmond Ridder look today?
I thought Desmond Ridder looked fine. He was. It was interesting because there's only 2 quarterbacks, which is unusual. For a team to only have 2 quarterbacks in camp. I mean, Felipe Franks is technically a quarterback still, and will technically still remain a quarterback, according to Arthur Smith.
There's no way they don't sign another one before preseason.
I mean,
Right?
apparently,
Like,
yeah, it would be interesting. Like maybe they're just gonna let Franks take the reps? I don't know. But what it stands to do is that it means that Ritter and Mariota take all of the quarterback reps, which is great, obviously, for a young quarterback to get those reps. But a lot of times they had them side by side doing drills right next to each other, basically mirrored drills. Like they're having these guys do the exact same things, prepare the exact same way. I think it's really smart. I mean, there wasn't. Mariota was really sharp. So, like, I don't want this to come off as, like, slanderous to Desmond Ritter. Mariota was really good. Like, he looked sharp. He looked totally in command. He reminded me of Matt Ryan. Like, Ryan's out there ordering stuff around. Everything's on time. Everything's sharp. I was expecting a big drop-off because Ryan's not here anymore, and I didn't really see that. So I really honestly thought I was more impressed by Mariota. That's not a surprise, I think, to most people because Mariota's like a 7-year veteran and has experience in this offense and all these things. But I thought Ritter was, especially considering that he's a third-round rookie and all these things, like he was good. I think he was as advertised, as expected, and I just I was impressed. I thought he was good. He's not as sharp as Mariota, which is why you've seen all this stuff come out today, like, oh, the Falcons are calling Mariota their starter and all this, which again is not surprising. I mean, they've basically been hinting strongly at that for the past month, but I think Ritter has shown exactly what I've expected and hoped for so far. I mean, he had one sort of errant pass that that Darren Hall almost picked off, but it ended up being a deflection that Olamide Zaccheaus caught and then took for a big gain. So it was fine, it ended up working out, but it was a little bit ahead of Zaccheaus. So that was the one errant throw that I saw, but otherwise I thought he was pretty much on target. They were running the same plays, the same offense, working the same stuff, and I think that's all good signs. I don't really think that he's like seriously going to contend to supplant Mariota this training camp.
I think they already announced it. I think they announced it today.
They did.
That
I mean, they're
Mariota's
basically
the starter,
saying the same thing in a different way, like he is our starter or whatever. So,
I mean, and I mean, I'm completely fine with that. It's different approaches, and I'm not saying that there is any wrong approach. I think if Dan Quinn was here, and I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, like I said, this approach is completely fine as well. I think he would be talking about how this is an open competition throughout all of training camp, throughout all of preseason. We'll name a starter after the end of preseason. We're not going to name anyone, until the very end. Whereas Arthur Smith has a different style, and his style is, all right, we're going with the veteran. We obviously didn't give Marcus Mariota all that money to start out sitting on the bench. We're naming Mariota the starter right away. Desmond Ritter knows where he stands. He said that we have a plan in place for Desmond Ritter, so we'll see what that is. That'll be interesting to see. But yeah, it's two different styles. It's whatever your preference is. Arthur Smith's preference is to just name it immediately, and in fairness, the positives to that style is, I think it gives some credence to when he does say that there's a legitimate competition. Whereas Dan Quinn, for example, was saying that everything's a competition, which is all right. We knew that some of those right? Starting jobs were not competitions.
Oh, so Julio's competing for the wide receiver one jobs. Like seriously. Oh, Matt Ryan's in a competition. Like it lessens what you're saying if we know it's false. So in fairness, I don't think he ever went that far to say Matt Ryan's job is in danger or Julio's. But some Sean
of those
Renfrey threatening.
Yeah, some of those even I even count Wes Schweitzer and Ben Garland. He was talking that one up all training camp. Ben Garland was 5 years older than Schweitzer. Career backup. Oh man, I would love to have Wes Schweitzer on this team.
I would make that trade in a heartbeat, brother. Wes Schweitzer, come home.
Come home and play left guard, Wes.
Yes,
please.
They should never let him leave. Yeah,
the fan base will give you your apology that you so richly deserve.
I feel like we were always nice. I think we advocated for them to keep him. It's why would you let him walk?
It is a 6th-round pick.
Yeah.
What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
But Arthur Smith, when he says right tackle, left guard, and center are open competitions, I think there's some weight behind that. I think the players themselves know, all right, I wasn't named the starter, even though I'm the veteran here. there's gonna be a competition. I better lock in at this point. So it's whatever your preference is, and both of those philosophies, both of those styles have their own positives and have their own negatives.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. Dwight the second with the $5 saying from the United Kingdom, just showing some love. See, the west side of Atlanta, United Kingdom over there. Shout out. Um, but yeah, thank you, Dwight. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you, Dwight.
that. Thanks from the UK. I know, because if you donated in pounds, it would be some weird denomination. It wouldn't be
No,
$5. It would be some
no,
different
it'll be much
denomination.
more than $5, or
Yeah,
it will be
probably.
more than $5. The
Yeah,
pound is
yeah.
strong, man.
It is. The pound has always been strong.
Yeah, the pound has always been the strongest one. The
Yep.
euro and the dollar are now almost dead
Yeah.
even at this point,
Yeah.
which is wild. Yeah, it was nice traveling in Europe for a
I
couple of weeks.
imagine. Yeah. Last time I was there, it was like $1.50 for to the euro. When I was there, I mean that was like over 10 years ago. But
Oh yeah, the
um,
euro was much stronger 10 years ago, but now
yeah,
it was almost 1 to 1. It's like, oh, I just brought my dollars, and I didn't have to do any math, any calculations. I wasn't overspending on anything pretty much.
yeah, it's terrific. Um, Robert Kelly. I'm gonna answer Robert Kelly's here. Either of you, Kevin or Adnan, believe that the Falcons are actually interested in Jimmy G. I
No.
don't know if we had a chance to say this, but no, absolutely not. It's 100% made up, in my opinion. I don't have a source. I don't need to pretend that I have a source like some. You guys know who I'm talking about. And what I'm going to say is that I don't believe he's actually making it up. I believe he's getting it from someone. And this person knows that they can tell this person that I'm referring to anything that they want. And this person that I'm referring to will repeat it without question, without thought, without another word to the wayside, because this person is desperate for clout. Uh, and to all of you aspiring sports journos or bloggers or whoever, whatever you want to call yourself. Like, I'm technically not a journalist. I don't have a journalism degree. I don't pretend to be a journalist. I call myself a reporter, Don't pretend to be a journalist and not be a journalist, okay? That's all I'm going to say. Like, think about what you're saying before you say it. Even a cursory look at the Jimmy G trade would tell you that it's not financially feasible. Oh yeah, the bots are going crazy for Jimmy G. He is beautiful. He is beautiful, so I understand. Um, it's not financially feasible. Like, if you were telling me that, oh, if Jimmy G gets cut, the Falcons might be interested in signing him, sure, why not? I mean, I wouldn't personally want it, but like if they're gonna sign him to compete at quarterback or be a stopgap on a lower contract or whatever, sure, whatever. They can't trade for him. It's not possible with their current cap space. Like, they have some cap space. It's not like they don't have any. They got like 12 million or 11 million or whatever the hell it is. They would need 25 minimum to get the deal done. First of all, now technically Robert Kelly, like you said, the 49ers could do what the Browns did for Baker Mayfield and like eat a lot of the contract. That's the only way it could possibly work. That was not mentioned in the rumors.
And I don't think
Notably,
the 49ers want to do that
no,
either.
that's the whole point of trading him, is so they don't have to pay him anything. They would rather cut him and save more money than have to eat the contract. Like, they just want some kind of draft compensation for him is where we're at right now.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, the other thing was, oh yeah, like a second round pick was the talking point. A
yeah, and
second
a fifth.
and a
Yeah,
fifth.
that's
Yeah,
like that's just ridiculous. We're just wilding out here.
yeah. The Falcons don't have a fifth this year.
No, yeah,
Yeah, and I saw a lot of 49ers fans were trying some mental gymnastics, saying, "Oh no, they meant
it
a
could be
fifth like
next year.
in a future year."
Yeah,
Like,
well, they didn't say that.
yeah, Jimmy G. I feel like this is his agent
Oh
pumping
yeah,
some stuff out there to try and increase his value, but it just makes no sense. Like, if we can see through it, and we don't have sources, we're not experts here. I guarantee you, those professional front offices aren't buying that bullshit either.
no, and that's the thing. Like, it was so clumsily delivered. This rumor, like, it was almost like they weren't even trying. Um, and like, I mean, it was so outlandish that we actually had a real insider, Benjamin Albright, uh, say like, "Oh yeah, this is false." Like, just like come out and say like it was like so easy to disprove. He made like one text and was like, "Oh yeah, it's false." So that's all there is to that. It's false, and honestly, you guys are smart. I'm sure you sniffed it out. I know you're probably nervous when you hear stuff like that, but look, it is what it is. People make stuff up to try to get clout, but like, guess what happens when you're wrong? Uh, you,
And guess what happens when you're wrong over and over again?
then you just don't have a career anymore. So it's
Uh,
not worth it. This bot's
Um,
really getting our chat rate up, actually. Thank you, bot. I think that helps the algorithm. So,
um, yeah, it's Then speaking of the algorithm, over 100 are in the
yeah.
chat now. I don't think we've hit 100 in a few weeks.
Oh,
Um,
we got there like some show recently, but yeah, it's been
Maybe I wasn't
quieter.
there. Maybe I
Yeah, you
wasn't
might not
there.
have been
Yeah,
there. It was brief, but yeah,
yeah.
we've cut because it goes, especially June is like the
I
low
mean,
time,
yeah.
but like during season we get like 200 plus. But this is
Yeah,
it's
the season's here. The
nice to have
season's
you guys
here.
back in. Yeah, um,
Um, but yeah, it's Falcons also signed a stopgap quarterback already. They
a better one.
they gave Mariota a good amount of money. Like Mariota isn't here on some tiny minimum deal. They not only gave Mariota a good amount of money, but it cost them a fourth round pick to bring in Mariota as well. The Falcons didn't get a comp pick as a result. So, Mariota isn't just here to play backup to Jimmy G for the Falcons to give more draft compensation for this position. Um, but yeah, that's the Jimmy G stuff is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the last thing, just want to open it up to you. Who is the single or the two, if you want to give more than one answer? Um, who's the guy that really stood out the most today?
Yeah, I mean, I'll do at least one. We'll see. But the play of the day was Auden Tate. I don't know if you've seen the tweet, because I actually got it on camera. So shout out to Auden Tate for being very photogenic. But Auden Tate, it wasn't even just that play. He looks really good. Like he's huge, obviously. I mean, this man is legitimately like 6'5", 220 plus. He looks like a massive dude out there. Um, and he didn't drop a single ball. He's got great hands. He was catching everything. Um, he was in coverage on this play I'm talking about against Terrell. The Falcons actually had it drawn up really well. There was a natural rub route that just slowed Terrell down a step, but it was just enough for Tate to get some separation. Because Tate is not necessarily a fast player. I mean, this is a guy that ran like a 4.68 or something like that. So he's not someone that's going to win a foot race with anyone. But he got out there. Mariota put it, obviously fearing AJ Terrell. He put the ball out there pretty far. One might even say overthrew it to the sideline. But Tate just sort of really extended, sort of quasi jumped and made this leaping grab for it. It was a great play, and that was sort of emblematic of his day. Like he had multiple plays like that. He looked really good in the drills. He looked really crisp. I mean, he runs good routes for a guy that's not a great athlete. He knows his craft. The question with Tate to me is only like, I mean, if he plays this well, he's going to make the roster just because he's going to be like the wide receiver 3. Like, he's just going to be the third best receiver, which is probably what I would say he's slated. This is where he's in the ranking after one day. He's definitely in that wide receiver 3 to me. But if he can't be that good to demand that high of a spot, he's going to have to either prove he can play special teams or play in the slot or something. And I don't know that he can't do those things, but I don't know how often. I know the special teams, he's played like 30 or 40 snaps in his career. Like, he just hasn't generally played special teams. So he might have to add that to his repertoire if he wants to stick as more of a depth guy. But, if he could play a big slot too, then I think that would obviously help. And, the big thing is, like, Kaderil Hodge, who's probably his biggest competition for that 5th spot if they only keep 5. If they keep 6, they're going to keep them both. Hodge is maybe the best gunner on the team. He's just a really good special teams player, and he made his fair share of catches too. He wasn't as spectacular or anything like that, but Hodge plays special teams. He's like a special teams staple. He's a really good gunner, so he's got that trump card. If they need that 5th receiver, that's going to be mostly a special teams player. That could be the difference there. But at this time, after one practice with Tate showing out like that, it's going to be really hard to not keep Tate. So we'll see. Just a quick mention the other receivers. Olamide Zaccheaus, I think, is clearly in like a tier above most of these other guys in terms of how this coaching staff views him. The way they sort of organize the drills is that usually the first guys up are like the big names, like Kyle Pitts is always first. And most of the time, the other guy that was up first was Olamide Zaccheaus. So I think that shows you how high this team is on Zaccheaus. He is, I think, clearly in their plans. I think he's pretty much a roster lock. He looked good. He had more plays than just the caught deflection, that ended up going for a big gain. But I think he's in like a high tier up there. And I thought Brian Edwards was good too. He was certainly in the mix. He caught a lot of passes. He's going to have a role. So those are probably your obviously Drake London was involved too. So it's and I Mad Tom, I'm not trying to pick on you, but I think the height thing is more of a preference than like a need. Like I think that they like the bigger receivers because I think they're going to ask these guys to block a lot. I think they're going to ask these guys to go up and get it, and they want a lot of these contested catch guys. Last year they didn't have anyone. They had like Tajay Sharp, and that was it. Especially and Calvin
wide receiver one, Tajay Sharp.
Shout out. So I think they like maybe overcompensated a little bit. They wanted to bring in a bunch of these big guys, and I think Arthur Smith in general does prefer the size, but he doesn't have any. And he said it before, like he has no problem with small receivers. Like he just wants really good players. So if you're a good small receiver, I know it was a joke. There are people that actually believe that like he doesn't want any small receivers at all, Tom. So he's going to just play the best receivers. So like as long as you're good, you're going to be on the roster. Like there's no reason that like I think Damiere Byrd and Olamide Zaccheaus are both going to make it. They're both small guys, but they're both good at what they do. And I think that matters more than just the size. But I think they prefer size. So if you've got two guys that are tied and one guy fits the size archetype, one guy's smaller, the tie might go to the bigger guy. But other than that, I think they're just going to get the best guys out there. But let me scroll through real quick. I mean, Kyle Pitts obviously was awesome. He was probably more impressive than Auden Tate overall just because he was so dominant. But
that's easy one,
easy.
Though, yeah.
That's too easy. But Kyle Pitts is awesome. I know Eric Harris forced a fumble, so that was obviously nice to see. He ran in there and ripped it out. Let's see if there's anyone else I want to talk about. Couple of quick notes, I guess. Oliver was back out there, Isaiah Oliver. So that's always nice to see. He didn't appear to have any sort of limits. He was working in all the team drills and all that stuff. He did have a knee brace on at the end of practice. He didn't at the beginning, as far as I could tell from watching my videos. I don't know that means anything. It might just be that, it was hot as hell. Like his knee might have started swelling or something like that. Or they just wanted to be careful as they were working him back in. So I wouldn't read anything into that unless we hear something else. But that was obviously great to see. Cornell Armstrong, the cornerback, who I guess was really impressing sort of in the offseason stuff. He was working with the first and second team group. Like he was out there with those guys. So it seems like they've sort of rewarded him for his strong play. He's now working with that higher tier group. So he's definitely someone to keep an eye on as a potential person to make the roster even, who's kind of come out of nowhere. He seems to be the favorite there, at least really early.
We mentioned his name a few times in the preseason last year. I remember he made some plays for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of preseason guys that make plays, linebacker Dorian Etheridge, he was good. He was great today. They do a period at the very end. We'll see if they repeat this. That's sort of like it's like a full team session. They like integrate everybody together. Like it's like all the teams.
Sorry, I had a brain freeze. I was talking about Dorian Etheridge. Dorian Etheridge was the guy last preseason.
Yeah, and exactly. And he was great today too. So they did this like sort of integrated full team, like all the strings together, and they just sort of randomly threw guys in. And he was playing against a lot of starters. He had 2 tackle for loss. He stopped a Desmond Ridder scramble that maybe might have been a designed run. Looked good. I mentioned Felipe Franks. He's officially going to stay listed at quarterback. but he's probably going to play tight end for the most part at camp. They did say like some days he will get a lot of quarterback reps and other days he'll play mostly tight end. So it seems like they're keeping him as like the sort of emergency third string quarterback. And we'll see if they add another guy. If they don't, that'll be sort of a unique thing that they're trying to do. I don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily opposed to it because I feel like any guy you sign off the street is basically not going to really give you anything anyway. So you might as well just have Franks take those quarterback reps if you need them, and otherwise just roll with the guys you got. So I'd rather spend the roster spot on someone who's actually going to make the roster, potentially, than a quarterback who's just a camp arm. In terms of the depth charts, we talked about the running backs at tight end. I think it's Anthony Firkser, obviously, tight end 2. He played a ton. He caught a lot of passes from the starters, so he's clearly in the mix. And then Parker Hesse actually seems to be ahead of Fitzpatrick right now. Not a shock considering Fitzpatrick's a rookie and these guys generally make the rookies earn it, but that was how it was. They had Hesse moving all over the formation, doing like some halfback stuff, doing some fullback stuff, doing some random stuff. So, I think they like Hesse. I think he'll make it alongside Fitzpatrick still. But that was the other note I had there. But I think that's pretty much it. The defense, a lot of times they put like the receiver drills like right in front of us, probably because the camera's like that, and I like it too. I mean, it makes for good content, but it would be nice if I could see some other stuff too. So, we'll see how it goes. We'll see if it changes the type of guys they put in front of us. But in the meantime, I will report on as much as I can. Try to see that I didn't really even get a good look at the starting defensive line like at all. So we'll see how that goes. But I think that's all my notes for now.
Yeah, no, it's and the thing that's um as I mentioned, this is just day one. Like there's still a whole preseason left, and a whole training camp left. What we're looking at and what we're thinking now could be completely different from what we look at a week from now, 2 weeks from now. Hopefully, the overarching thing is hopefully there's no injuries. And yeah, we're very close to the first preseason game as well. I think is that August 12th.
I think so.
It is the first preseason game.
I believe so. It's something like that.
Yeah, August 12th against the Detroit Lions. So that's at 6 p.m. That's a Friday night. We'll be doing that play-by-play as we do with every preseason game every year. I think we've been going at that for at least 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that game with the community.
Yeah. And those are always fun. And I think we're gonna, have some really more exciting, I guess, streams this year as opposed to endless the simulator jokes. Because I mean that was fun while it lasted, but
in fairness, that was the Hall of Fame game too.
Yeah, that's true. That one was especially bad, so we don't have to live through that again, thankfully.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, it makes preseason a bit more fun and a bit more exciting. Like, obviously, we can't wait to watch some actual football. But, in the past, it would just be, all right, first quarter, starters are out there. Not last year, the starters weren't out there at all, except for, like, a play. But, Arthur Smith admitted that mistake. I feel vindicated because I was talking about what a bad idea that was last year. So we'll see the starters. We'll see Desmond Ridder. That'll be really exciting. I think we'll be more excited than ever to watch the second and third quarters of random preseason games this year. But yeah, doing the play-by-play, watching with the entire community, that makes it a bit more exciting for sure.
Yeah. I enjoy the play-by-plays. That's not a skill that I, have used before we started doing it. And I think it's fun just to do it and to learn how to do it. And I think that you guys enjoy it. And like, let's be honest, like the people that cast those games are generally pretty poor. So it's not, no offense to you guys, shout out to you for that hustle. But like, I feel like people generally prefer our stream, which is really an indictment, because we're just total amateurs. But we actually know the players. I think that's probably the biggest key. Is like these guys might be better like orators than us, but they don't know the players. They barely know who's on the roster. You know, they can't really deliver any great takes about Dorian Etheridge and D. Alford, and I need to go deeper on the roster probably to really prove my point. But you know, Quentin Bell and Rashad Smith out there going to making plays deep in the fourth quarter. So um, we gotta, you know, I think that helps us out, and we always loved interacting with the fans too. That's what makes it all worthwhile. So we really appreciate you guys. This is what makes it all worthwhile. Getting down here to cover camp. You know, I like to think that, you know, probably I would hope that my relationship with the team would be good enough, you know, without the show. But I honestly, like, this show and this program has helped the site. It has helped all of us sort of build our profile in the sports media landscape, including with the team. So I mean, then that's you guys. You know, you guys help us keep our numbers up, keep our algorithm strong. You know, on that note, please like and subscribe, click that bell button, you know, and all those good YouTube things. But we just really appreciate you guys. I appreciate all the support with the fund. We'll keep running it. You know, it's more expensive this year. You guys know why. Gas prices, all this crap. So, you know, I'm not necessarily expecting to get every penny back. It's important for me to be here. To me, it's obviously really important to the site, but I'm going to be here. I just appreciate all the support you guys give. It's great. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy. And, you know, we'll figure it out. And just appreciate it. I appreciate Adnan coming on as well. He is Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way on the Twitters. Adnan, anything else you'd like to plug before we sign off?
Yeah, I'm gonna write up an article about who the Falcons' primary franchise cornerstones are going into this season. This is the first time I'm writing an article like this, and I'm hoping to make this a yearly series at around training camp, where we can just take a second and look at who the guys are for the Atlanta Falcons, and you know, hopefully I can do that article a few years from now and be like, oh, like, look at where we are now, look at where we were a few years ago, and hopefully there's going to be, you know, a large number more than there are right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a long off season. It's been a long off season. I'm just happy we have actual football to talk about, to be honest. So, and I'm excited to get together with Adnan. Last year we introduced Adnan to Ty for the first time, so that was fun. So I wonder what sort of mischief we'll get up to this year. But I just remember DW ordering like the most spicy possible thing on the menu, and then you were just like your first time eating Thai, and we just sat there and watched him like devour this nuclear bowl, just in not even sweat. Like, it's just like, Jesus. Like, I thought I liked spicy food until I met DW in person. That man.
Yeah, I'm not a big spicy eater, and I mean, Thai food was good. I still don't know how I feel about the you know, the nuts.
Yeah,
Combined with
it's
the
a weird
pasta.
thing. It's a weird thing, but I think if you do it enough times, you know, you start to appreciate it. You gotta like mix it in, you know, really well. But
Yeah.
you can also get it without the nuts too. So
Yeah, it seems like an acquired. Well, I wanted to try it with the nuts.
yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't that. I feel like I need
you
to
got
have
the
it a
full
few more times.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got the full
absolutely.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You didn't chicken out. You know, you got the legit food with the real spices. You didn't get the, you know, Americanized version of it. You know, it's probably somewhat Americanized no matter what. But
I didn't get the chicken tenders.
yeah, they probably had that. Yeah, usually they do for that one guy that you take there. But yeah, we'll keep you guys posted on our antics as they evolve. But
Yeah, the chat is saying they want us to do a show from Magic City.
oh yeah, I mean, we should hit up Magic City for that sponsorship. Because the wings are great, right? You go there for the wings. So
I mean, that's what I hear.
yeah, so that's what I hear. There's definitely nothing else you can do in there. We might have to make sure that I have my camera blur on, like really, really have the blur on if we were to do that. So.
I feel like that would be the most Atlanta show of all time.
It would be extremely Atlanta. So that would be fun. But yeah, guys, we really appreciate you hanging out. I will be back every day. I'm at camp, so that means tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, not Sunday because there's no practice, but Monday, Tuesday. I don't know if we actually will have a show next Wednesday because I'll be flying back late. I may record something and then post it. But yeah, it will be. It might be a little dicey that day just because I have to like get back and then pack up and then go to the airport right after practice. So, it may be a little dicey. But other than that, you're gonna get a bunch of shows, and we'll go from there. We'll continue to bring you guys the best training camp coverage that exists. And hope you guys will continue to like and subscribe and signal boost all of our stuff. If you've got the Twitters, get out there and give me those sweet retweets. We gotta get me to 8,000 followers apparently because I was like, oh, maybe we can get to 7,000, and then we did it in like an hour. So kudos to you guys for making that happen. Follow the show too at Falcoholic Live. For our audio listeners on the Falcoholic podcast, we appreciate you guys as well. It's harder to talk directly to you because I don't see your names in the chat, but if you guys want to ever donate to the fund or do any of that donation stuff, but you can't make the show live, you can donate while we're off air. I will get it and read it on the next show, so don't worry about that. It doesn't get lost or whatever. We'll be able to accommodate that for you, no problem. And we have a lot of new patrons. The Patreon leagues are a big hit again, so if you're interested in taking part in our Patreon fantasy leagues, I would say getting in before the end of probably you need to get in by the end of the first preseason game because we're gonna have the draft probably in between the second and third preseason game. So if you're interested, you can sign up on Patreon. All tiers get access to the leagues. It's patreon.com/Falcoholic Live or the Falcoholic. I think it's Falcoholic Live, but try both if the first one doesn't work. And we're just excited to bring you guys some great Patreon content. Maybe this NFL Plus thing will not be terrible like Game Pass, and I can actually make some videos with film again. That would be cool. But it's the ball's in your court, NFL. I'm only gonna put up with that crappy product for so long. Yeah, appreciate you guys. It's been a fun one. I gotta get up bright and early, so I'm probably gonna chug a beer and then just immediately pass out because that's how it works. It's a sedative. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you guys. Thanks to Adnan for helping me out. I look forward to bringing you guys more takes in the coming days. Until then, guys, have a great night. We will talk to you tomorrow here on the Falcoholic Live. Thanks again for watching. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will see you next time. Again, guys, have a great night. We'll see you then.
See you guys.